Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. Nikki Newman never imagined the day would come when she'd be standing over Victor's collapsing body, clutching the truth she'd spent weeks hiding, yet here she was, heart pounding, hands shaking, and the air thick with the scent of betrayal and the metallic echo of poison. It had started as a whisper, a sliver of an idea planted during her darkest moment, when Jack Abbott pushed her to consider just how dangerous Victor's secret AI program had become, a weapon capable of destroying Jabot, Newman Media, Chancellor Winters, and even the people she loved if Victor ever decided to go nuclear. Tonight, that whisper became a roar. Victor had stormed into the ranch living room demanding answers, barking in that gravel-deep voice, "Where is the USB?" as if his empire could crumble simply because one small device had slipped out of his iron grip. Nikki had told herself she wouldn't break. She'd rehearsed her lies. She'd convinced herself she could outmaneuver him. But the moment he slammed his fist onto the table, those piercing dark eyes boring into hers with suspicion and fury, something inside her snapped, the old fear, the old obedience, the old Nikki who bowed to Victor's control. She refused to be that woman again. She watched him pour a drink, watched him swallow the glass without knowing what she had slipped inside. She had counted every second, every breath, waiting for the poison to begin its slow, devastating descent through his system. And when his legs buckled, when his hand clawed desperately at the arm of the sofa, when he turned toward her with disbelief, "Nikki, what have you done?" she felt her heart fracture but not break. Because this wasn't just a crime. It was a choice. A stand. A war she decided to win. As Victor collapsed at her feet, gasping, struggling, eyes bulging with the dawning realization that his wife, his partner, the woman he believed he still controlled, had finally outplayed him, Nikki took a step back and whispered, "I'm sorry, Victor, but you left me no choice." He hit the floor hard, but he didn't lose consciousness, not yet. That, she knew, would make this even more dangerous. "Nikki," he growled, trying to push himself up, muscles trembling, veins standing out against his skin, the poison tightening its grip. "What did you give me?" She didn't answer at first. She walked to the bar, her heels clicking like gunshots in the silent room, and refilled her own glass with trembling fingers. She had never felt so powerful and so terrified at the same time. "I needed you to stop," she said quietly, her back turned to him so he wouldn't see the tears gathering in her eyes. "I needed you to see what you were doing, to me, to the family, to this entire town. You think you can control everything, everyone, forever. But you crossed the line this time, Victor. And someone had to stop you." His breathing grew hoarse. "The USB," he rasped. "Where is it? Nikki?" She turned slowly, meeting his gaze, seeing accusation, betrayal, and fear swirling inside him like a storm. "You want the truth?" she said, voice breaking but steady. "Fine. I'll tell you." She knelt beside him, brushing a hand across his cheek the way she had done for decades, the way she had comforted him in victories and defeats, triumphs and tragedies. "I moved it," she whispered. "Somewhere you'd never think to look. Somewhere only I can reach." "And Jack," her voice trailed, and Victor's pupils dilated in fury. "Jack Abbott," he choked out. "You gave it to him." She shook her head slowly. "Not yet. But he'll have it. If you keep pushing. If you keep treating this town like your personal battlefield." Victor attempted to lunge upward, but the poison ripped through him again, sending him collapsing back against the floor, clutching his stomach in agony. "You betrayed me," he growled. "For Jack." Nikki wiped away a tear. "No. I did it for myself. For everyone who's tired of living under your threats, your power plays, your obsession with winning no matter who gets hurt." She stood and paced as Victor's labored breathing filled the room. "You think you're invincible, Victor. But you're not. You're human. You're flawed. And your secrets, your weapons, your AI program, it's too dangerous." She hesitated, then sighed. "I didn't want to poison you. I didn't want any of this. But you were never going to listen unless I forced you to. Victor's hand shot out, grabbing her ankle in a sudden burst of strength. Nikki, tell me, where it is. His grip was surprisingly firm, fueled by desperation and anger. She froze, staring down at him. Then she closed her eyes, knowing the moment was here, the moment she'd feared and anticipated. Fine, she said softly. You want the truth? I'll give you the truth. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. The USB is in the last place you'd ever check, because it's a place you never look. It's inside the portrait of you in the ranch study. I hid it behind your own face, Victor. Your pride. Your ego. The one thing you treasure above everything. That's where I put it. Victor's eyes widened with a mixture of rage and humiliation. She saw the exact instant the realization hit him, she had hidden his most powerful secret inside the symbol of his own vanity. That was the real betrayal. You, he gasped, voice shaking. You mocked me. Nikki shook her head. No. I showed you the truth. He struggled to breathe, the poison stealing his strength. And Jack, he knows? Yes, she said. Jack knows everything. The words were a dagger to Victor's heart. His face twisted with fury. Nikki, how could you? She stepped back, wrapping her arms around herself, finally allowing the full weight of her actions to sink in. She had betrayed him. She had taken Jack's side. She had poisoned the man she once vowed to love forever. But she also knew Victor had become someone she didn't recognize, someone willing to unleash a weapon on anyone who stood in his way. Someone who would destroy Jack, Billy, Diane, Phyllis, or even their own children if they got in the way of his power. And she refused to let that happen. Just then, Victor tried to push himself up a third time, stubborn, relentless, the legendary mustache refusing to back down, but the poison overwhelmed him. His body jerked. His eyes rolled back. He collapsed fully this time, the sound echoing like thunder through the room. Nikki gasped and rushed toward him, torn between fear and triumph. Victor, she cried, panic flooding her. She hadn't planned for him to fall this hard, this fast. The doctors had told her the dose would only weaken him, not knock him unconscious. But Victor Newman was not a man who followed rules, not even biological ones. His breathing was ragged, shallow, his skin clammy. Victor? Victor, can you hear me? For a horrifying second, she thought she had killed him. She pressed her hand to his chest, relieved when she felt his heart still beating, slow, faint, but present. She exhaled shakily and whispered, "You're going to be fine. You just need to stop." But then, Victor's eyes shot open. And the fury inside them was hotter than fire. He grabbed her wrist with all the strength he had left and growled, "You will regret this, Nikki." His voice was sharp, lucid. The poison hadn't taken his mind, only his body. "You betrayed me, for Jack Abbott, for Jabot." He released her wrist with disgust. "You're no Newman." Those words hit her harder than anything. She recoiled, feeling the decades of love, pain, forgiveness, and heartbreak crumbling in an instant. But before she could speak, Victor's body spasmed again, this time violently. His eyes fluttered. His breathing hitched. And then, he collapsed completely, unconscious for real this time. Nikki stared at him, trembling, her mind racing. Should she call 911? Should she run? Should she grab the USB and flee before Victor regained consciousness? Her phone buzzed suddenly, making her jump. It was Jack. A simple text, "Is it done?" Nikki closed her eyes, overwhelmed. She typed back with trembling fingers, "Yes. He knows everything." Jack replied instantly, "And the USB?" Nikki swallowed hard, gazing at Victor's motionless body. "It's safe," she wrote. "Come to the ranch. It's time." As the minutes ticked by and Jack's headlights approached the Newman driveway, Nikki took one last look at Victor, her husband, her enemy, her heartbreak. "I'm sorry, Victor," she whispered. "But you left me no choice." Jack will protect what you tried to destroy. She turned toward the door just as Victor's fingers twitched, just as his eyes fluttered open again, just as the realization hit him once more, sharper, deadlier, colder. Victor Newman's eyes fluttered open in a haze of disorientation and molten anger, awareness returning in violent waves as he realized the horrifying truth. He was on the floor of his own home, body weakened, pulse unstable, poisoned by the one woman he had trusted more than anyone, and footsteps echoed from the front hallway, Jack Abbott's footsteps, approaching, bold and fearless, as if he already owned the place. The fury in Victor's chest roared hotter than the poison gripping his veins, twisting his insides like barbed wire, and the moment he tried to push himself upright, pain ripped through him, forcing him down again. Nikki, his Nikki, was standing near the fireplace, hands trembling, face pale with the weight of her betrayal, yet she didn't run to him, didn't kneel, didn't comfort him as she once would have. Instead, she stared at him with a heartbreaking mixture of regret, resolve, and cold determination, as if she had finally crossed a line she knew she could never uncross. The front door opened without hesitation, and Jack stepped inside, not with the smug strut of a man stealing a victory but with the careful, measured steps of someone who knows he is entering a war zone. Jack froze when he saw Victor on the ground, but the shock in his eyes was quickly overshadowed by concern, and something darker, satisfaction. "My God, Nikki," Jack breathed, stepping closer. "You said he was weakened, not," Nikki cut him off sharply. "Jack, don't. It wasn't supposed to go this far." Victor tried to speak, but his throat tightened, and what came out was a low, guttural growl, "Get out." Jack didn't budge. Victor's eyes burned with a hatred so fierce it seemed to scorch the air between them. Nikki moved to intercept Jack before he got too close, pressing a trembling hand to his chest as if to shield him from the tidal wave of rage just waiting to explode. "Jack, he knows everything," she whispered, voice shakier than she intended. "He knows about the portrait, the USB, all of it." Victor's fingers curled into fists, fury surging through his weak body as he forced out, "Traitor. Both of you." Nikki's breath hitched, but she didn't look away. Jack looked from Nikki to Victor, jaw tightening as he struggled between pity and vindication. "Victor," Jack said calmly, "this didn't have to happen. You made this a battlefield, not us." Victor glared up at him, venom dripping from every syllable. "You dare come into my home, after she poisons me, after you turn her against me?" Jack exhaled sharply. "I didn't turn Nikki against you. You did that all by yourself." Nikki squeezed Jack's arm, silently begging him not to provoke Victor, but the bitter smirk tugging at the corner of Victor's mouth told her it was already too late. "You think you've won," Victor rasped, the poison tightening its grip around his ribcage. "You think, taking that USB, will save your pathetic company, from me." But when Jack leaned down slightly, his expression shifted, no longer smug, no longer defiant, but deeply, quietly resolute. "Victor," Jack said softly, "you created something too dangerous for any one person to control. The AI system you built, that predictive algorithm that can manipulate markets, track vulnerabilities, destroy corporate infrastructures with a few keystrokes, you turned it into a weapon. And you expected no one to stop you." Victor sneered. "I expected loyalty." Nikki felt her throat tighten. "You expected obedience," she whispered. "Not loyalty. Not partnership. You wanted me to sit by your side while you burned the world down around us." Jack stepped closer, but Nikki grabbed his arm again, steadying herself against the emotional storm raging across Victor's face. "Nikki, you don't have to explain anything to him," Jack murmured. But Nikki shook her head, tears gathering. "Yes, I do." She knelt beside Victor again, her hands trembling as she reached out to brush back the sweat-damp hair from his forehead. "Victor, I did this because I love you. Because I want you safe. Because the world you were creating was going to destroy you first." Victor's jaw clenched. "Poisoning me, is love?" Nikki swallowed hard. "It was the only way to make you stop. You wouldn't listen to me. You wouldn't listen to anyone. You were spiraling, Victor. You were reckless. You were becoming someone I didn't recognize. Jack's face softened as he watched Nikki fall apart, but Victor's eyes darkened with blistering rage. You chose him, he hissed. Of all people. Jack Abbott. Nikki shook her head fiercely. No, Victor. I chose myself. And I chose what's right. Victor tried to push himself up once more, but the poison sabotaged his attempt, sending him collapsing again. He exhaled a shuddering breath, realizing, for the first time in decades, that he was truly powerless. And Jack knew it. Nikki knew it. Even Victor himself knew it. The USB, Victor forced out, voice gravelly and raw. You said, it was behind the portrait. Bring it to me. Nikki stood, wiping at her tears. I can't. Victor's lips curled into a snarl. Bring it, to me. She shook her head again. Victor, it's not there anymore. Jack inhaled sharply. Victor froze. What? Victor choked. Nikki backed away slowly, as if bracing herself for the impact of a bomb. I moved it before you came home, she whispered. It's not behind the portrait anymore. Jack stepped toward her, disbelief flashing across his face. Nikki, where is it? She turned to Jack, then to Victor, agony slicing through her as she prepared to reveal a truth even more explosive than the poison. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust either of you. I hid it somewhere neither of you can reach. Somewhere only I can access. Victor's breathing grew ragged again. Where? The force of the shout shook the room despite the weakness in his body. Nikki took a slow, shaky breath. I swallowed it. Jack's eyes widened. Victor's face froze in shock. What? Jack whispered, stepping closer as if he hadn't heard her correctly. But Nikki didn't flinch. I swallowed the USB, she repeated. A microdrive the size of a pill. I swallowed it so no one, not you, not Jack, could use it against anyone. She placed a hand on her stomach. It's safe with me until I decide what to do. Victor's jaw clenched so hard a vein pulsed in his neck. You, insane woman, he whispered. Jack stared at her with a mixture of awe and horror. Nikki, that was dangerous. That was, she cut him off. Necessary. Victor, breathing harder now, rasped, you think, this will stop me? You think, you can hold my empire hostage? Nikki shook her head. No. I think I can buy time. Jack stepped forward, moving between Nikki and Victor, sensing a storm ready to break. Nikki, we need to get you looked at, she shook her head fiercely. No hospitals. No doctors. Victor still has influence everywhere. If I check in anywhere, he could track me, pressure someone, force a scan and retrieve it. Victor laughed, a bitter, broken, dangerous sound. You think? I need a doctor, to get it out of you? Jack stiffened. Victor, he slammed his hand against the floor, trying to push himself up, but the poison struck again, dropping him flat. You're not walking anywhere tonight, Jack snapped, frustration seeping through. And you're certainly not threatening Nikki. Nikki grabbed Jack's arm again. Stop. Both of you. This isn't about threats. She looked down at Victor, her voice wavering. This is about what happens next. Jack took a deep breath and turned back to Victor. Victor, listen to me for once. The fighting needs to stop. You need help. You need treatment. And Nikki, he looked at her, softer. Nikki needs to decide what to do with that USB without pressure. Victor glared. You want me, helpless. While you take everything. Jack shook his head. Victor, I don't want your empire. I want you to stop waging war on everyone who doesn't agree with you. I want peace between us, even if it's temporary. Even if it's impossible. Victor's eyes flicked between Jack and Nikki, recognizing the united front between them, a front he had never expected and hated with every fiber of his being. He tried again to rise, but his arm buckled beneath him, sending him collapsing again. Nikki gasped and dropped to her knees. "Victor, stop. You're hurting yourself." Victor turned his head away, refusing her help. "Don't touch me." His rejection sliced through her heart like a blade, but she stayed close, tears streaming.